In 1898, the fight happens in Congress. Each side passes laws trying to force their way. And it ends up with a weird split baby policy, with Cuba winning independence, but other quasi-imperial American rule. The U.S. would take over Guantánamo Bay, dictate Cuba's foreign policy, and give itself the right to intervene in Cuban affairs. Then came the American interventions in Cuba in 1906, 1917. Each time, the U.S. military takes over for a few years.
All right, so let's talk about that first part. So, I think, didn't they also own Florida for the time being? Not own, but like
we did buy Florida from the Spanish at one point. We did purchase that, I believe.
I think so too, because I thought that they were supposed to be. Florida would have been a state much earlier. It probably would have been a colony if it wasn't for the Spanish.
It's the Adams-Onis Treaty. Oh, we did not purchase Florida in a traditional sense. We acquired it through the Adams-Onis Treaty in 1819. Spain ceded both the East and West Florida to the United States. The treaty was ratified by both nations and officially proclaimed on February 22nd of 1821, when U.S. forces took formal possession of the territory. Often referred to as Florida Purchase, but it involved more than just land. Yeah, we had $5 million in claims against Spain by American citizens establishing clear western boundary for Louisiana Purchase. So it was just one of those things where like, yeah, we're not going to fight with them over it. You can just have it. It's fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's basically what it turned into. So, all right, there we go. Fact check ready. All good.
Ostensibly to resolve some political crisis, but that usually means protecting American interests, such as sugar imports. Today, when Americans think about the U.S. and Cuba, we think of the Cold War, but Cubans often think back to this imperial era. And that era technically ends in 1933 with an uprising against Cuba's government. Under U.S. law, America is supposed to intervene again, but President Franklin Roosevelt wants to end the imperial era, so he declares neutrality. And over the next 20 years, Cuba becomes a democracy, and one that's generally friendly with the U.S. That changes in 1952, when a former president and military leader named Fulgencio Batista seizes power in a coup, suspends the Constitution, and imposes an increasingly oppressive rule.
Now, where have we heard that before?
Yeah, we went over some of this when we talked about Kennedy, just a little bit when we were talking about, and also about some of the regime change stuff.
Exactly.
We've touched on this a couple times, I think, but I don't think we ever went deep.
Right. And I think that like this probably should have been a part of that episode, but I'm kind of glad that we didn't, because this is a little bit this sits a little bit more at home than say Venezuela or the Middle East. But first things first, let's say 1800 to like around this time where Batista kind of takes over, right? Geography set the terms, right? Because of Cuba's location, because of the Gulf of America, I just said. Yes.
Yeah. Gulf of Mexico at the time.
Exactly. Made it naturally tied to U.S. trade with investments and, tourism, proximity, things like that.
Thank you, Funk Master.
Oh, Funk Master General, how are you doing today? It's our number one fan. He is back. Yes, sir. Cuba still remained under a Spanish colony through repeated rebellions and things like that. But commercially, it watched Cuba prevent rival European influence. Right. So, though the United States had a lot of European influence at that time, Cuba didn't. Right. So when you also look at some of their exports, like flour, the politics and tariffs, disrupted a lot of those flows. So, but they were able to get that fixed up until, of course, they had a hurricane that came through and basically destroyed the island back in, I think, 1835. So they cut they cut the imports by 30%. And then, of course, by the 1840s, the rise of Spanish tariffs and the Panic of 1857 and the U.S. Civil War all kind of suppressed that trade and investment, because we didn't have money to spend on that. They were spending it on weapons or spending it on things that we needed here to kind of fight the war that was going on over here.